Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third episode of our Unlocking Data series, where we uncover everything you need to know about personal data sovereignty in the Web3 ecosystem, including topics around data ownership in the metaverse. In the coming episodes of the series, we shall be covering interesting topics on how you can trade your data and truly own your digital data. Isn't that fascinating? Well, let's dive deep into talking to Mark Paul, the founder of Itheum. Mark, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Anita. Thanks for having me. I'm so looking forward to another episode. We've done two so far, and this is super exciting to do a third.
Yeah, we have had interesting discussions with Mark on our first and second episodes. If you have not watched them, there is an I button on the top in this YouTube video. You can just watch it there. So, Mark, let's dive deep into understanding a bit more about how to trade on Ethereum, because that is one of the major questions that we get from our community. So the first one goes like, how does data collection take place on Ethereum platform?
So Ethereum enables data collection to happen in a few ways. The first and most important way is through our structured data collection programs, which are built on Ethereum's data collection and analytics toolkit. So think of this as a suite of tools that we allow for developers, enterprises, research institutes to build structured data collection programs. And this is very important because if the programs and apps are collecting structured data, it's very easy for us to value that data, and it is generally more valuable, right? So that's one way. So it's automatically ingested through the structured data collection apps. The second way is you can sell any arbitrary, or you can trade any arbitrary data. And this is by going into a data decks and uploading any file that is in JSON format, which could be anything, right? It could be any sort of data set that you feel that has some value that you would like to upload and advertise for trade. But again, it's very important to note that you need to try to keep this in a structured way. So when it's in a structured way, then it is worth more. And it's more appealing to people who might be interested in procuring your data set for any reason. And the last way is we have a feature called data adapters. Now, data adapters have the ability to locate your on-chain and off-chain data and bring it into the data deck. So you can think of it as the ability of decentralized harvesting data. Now, very important, it's decentralized harvesting because it will bring in data and you've got to come into the data decks and look at what has been identified, and you can throw away something or you can keep certain parts of it. So this is your decision completely on which parts of data that you want to keep. So these are the three main ways on how data collection into the Ethereum ecosystem works.
I see. That's great. So is there a way in which, say, I can participate and provide my data for the data collection?
Yes, so you can join one of the structured data collection programs. So there will be think of it as an app marketplace of all of these apps that have been built on Ethereum's data collection and analytics toolkit. One such example is the Red Heart Challenge app, which is already live. So anybody around the world can join this app. It's completely run over Telegram, and you can collect information about your cardiovascular health. So we're going to have a platform like a marketplace of apps that you can come and join for free. Now, enterprises might also use this to build apps, right? So they might have paid versions of the apps, but that's the enterprise level. So we are more talking about the general consumer level. So you can locate some of these apps, join them, learn some insights about yourself, but then you're generating this valuable data. Or you can go into the data decks and upload any arbitrary data set. Or you could go to the data decks, look at the data coalitions that are operating. And if you see data coalitions that are interested in a certain type of data, as an example, again, maybe there's a data coalition that's interested in data from the Red Heart Challenge app. So then it would advertise that. And then you go and join the Red Heart Challenge app, and now automatically your data is collected into a group of similar data sets and is worth more. So these are the multiple ways you can participate.
Okay, interesting. So now that we understand how data is collected, could you throw some light on how it is stored and how safe it is?
Itheum is a data collection tool, and specifically personal data. So you can imagine how sensitive that is, right? If you look at your personal data, your date of birth, your gender, all of these things that you probably don't want to go and just put out there and everybody has a look at it. So right from day one, we're trying to build what we call privacy preserving and regulation friendly data storage technology. So Itheum has a feature called regional decentralized hubs. Now that's a complex way of saying that we have created an abstraction framework for how we can store data. It's something like this, right? So if you go into Itheum Datadex and you upload some data, ultimately it will be your choice. You can say that I'm happy for it to be stored in a centralized location in the same country where I live in, but encrypted. Or I'm happy for this type of data to be stored in a decentralized way over IPFS or Filecoin and encrypted. Or you can choose even a combination. You can say, okay, for this specific profile data, I want it stored in my country where I live. But all of this other data that is really, maybe my gameplay data if I'm a gamer, I'm happy for that to be stored in IPFS or somewhere that's decentralized. Ultimately, I think we want to give the choice to the data creator. But it's as you can imagine, it's a very tricky thing to do. We spend a lot of time thinking about this, and our objective is to give the choice to the data creator, at the same time make it the UX very friendly. So they shouldn't have to, be so confused about what they're doing. So it's a fine balance, but the key thing is from day one, we're trying to make privacy preserving, regulation friendly data storage.
All right, that's great. So, as you mentioned about data storage, now that there's a process as well that goes into validating the data. Can you throw some light on that?
What's stopping people just uploading some junk data and then hoping that somebody would, be willing to trade with them? Now, if you join a structured data collection app built on the Itheum's data collection and analytics toolkit, like I said, there would be a marketplace of these apps. Then the data that's collected is automatically validated, because if you look at how the data is collected, it's through very structured formats. So it's very hard for you to game the system. You could if you want to, but it's much more difficult, right? For example, it forces you to enter data in a certain way. It validates data input. Or it even pulls data from third parties like Fitbit and all these things, which are already validating data through sensors. So that data is automatically very valuable. Now, if you're creating your own data set locally on a computer and trying to upload that into the Datadex, then it's tricky to validate, right? Because you could have done anything. You can manufacture this data, you could create mock data. In this scenario, we fall back to what's called a credibility score. So as a user, when you're uploading your data, you have a very low credibility score. But as you align to data coalitions or you're trading with other people and they are not disputing your data, then your credibility score will grow over time. And this is very important to know. So as you start off, low credibility score, low value, but over time it grows. And then basically the system is kind of automatically flagging you as a high data quality subject. Now, when both of these work together over time, the people generating the highest caliber data would always be incentivized the most to trade. So we're intending to build all this automatically, so you won't have to worry about this. But at the high level, and this is no different to other platforms, like even OpenSea, you can go and put up some NFTs, but on day one, your credibility score is super low. But over time, it grows. So it's a credibility system that we're going to be building.
Perfect. So I think you have also answered one of my questions, which was, what if the data that is captured is manipulated or incorrect? So I think that will only affect the credibility score more than anything. Am I right there?
Yes, that's correct. So if in a scenario you join the Datadex, you upload some data set, maybe if you're a gamer and you have a very valuable data set around gameplay that you would like to trade with, you upload that, and then maybe if you can't find a peer-to-peer trade, you align to a data coalition that's interested in gaming data. As the data coalition is trading that data, maybe the buyer would be able to identify that you are putting fake data, because most likely the buyer is familiar with gaming data, and they would flag that as incorrect data over there. And that would directly affect your credibility score, because you have been trying to sell this. But if you are doing the right thing, it's as simple as this. If you do the right thing, you will be rewarded. If you do the wrong thing, you will eventually be caught out. And this is effectively how blockchain credibility systems work.
Yes, right. I would agree with that. So, Mark, moving on, in a peer-to-peer trade, who gets to decide the value of an individual's data?
So in a direct peer-to-peer trade, so let's say you and it are selling or trying to trade data with me, how it works is you can nominate a price. So you can say, I feel like this data is priced at 10 MIDA. MIDA is our utility token. And then I could come in and look at all the advertised data, and if I can have a look at a preview of your data, and if I feel like I'm willing to pay 10 MIDA for that, I would buy it. But if I don't, then of course no one's going to be buying your data. So we're looking at other ways to kind of solve this as well. So maybe we would go something as you start off at a price, and then the price drops until you find buyers, like a Dutch auction sort of thing. But I think eventually what we want to head to is the market determining the price. And this will mainly be through our data coalitions, where you generate some data, align to a coalition. The coalition determines the price of it based on demand. And then you're incentivized with micro payments based on that. So we'll come up with playing with a few things, and we'll come up with a solution that works. Currently in our test nets, it's the data creator that determines the price of the data.
Okay, and all of this is just about a direct peer-to-peer trade, or is it also about the data collation? Like, where does a market price or a market deciding value come into place?
Yeah, so in a data coalition, it would be the board that determines. So if you look at the data coalition design, there's a concept of a board, which are people that you as a data creator can vote into power. And board members are people who would be experienced in data, right? So the idea, the way we say data coalitions would be run by academic research institutes, people familiar with regulation, legal side of things, might be even enterprises, right? And they usually, the way we kind of look at it is they would already know the value of data. So they would price the data set in a certain way. So as an example, in that scenario of a health data coalition that's specifically looking at cardiovascular health, most likely it already has identified the buyers of these, or the potential people who are interested in this. So they will value it. And if they value it and they are not getting much attention, they will probably reduce the price as well. So we'll try to automatically do that. There'll be like a ceiling price and a base price, and it'll automatically curve down as required.
Okay, great. So Mark, our next question comes from more of an emotional and psychological angle. So does Itheum plan on decentralization of data storage? And it being multi-chain, how will the security of the data be maintained? And it being multi-chain, how will the security of the data be maintained?
So in the world today, the biggest problem regulators have is private companies holding data in their data silos, right? So along comes Itheum, and what we are saying is we're gonna try to break all of those data silos and give you the data creator ownership of your data. At the same time, Itheum doesn't want to become another data silo, where now we're aligned to Itheum, but then we are now the new data silo. Our initial plan was to make it fully decentralized in IPFS and Filecoin and all of these decentralized storage, but this doesn't work. It doesn't really align with regulation like GDPR and all of these things. So this is when we came up with the regional decentralized hub. We have to find a balance of how we can use decentralization for data storage, versus where its centralization is required. We still limit it. We still don't centralize to a certain degree where it could be attacked. So as an example, and that's how the name regional decentralized hubs came about. If we are storing data in EU, for example, there will be multiple nodes there within that region storing it. So they're still less prone of an attack, and the way we encrypt and everything would try to still make it per user encryption. So if the technology matures, if data storage with technology matures to a point where we can go full decentralized, but still be able to do things like data regulation and local sovereignty, government sovereignty correctly, then we would fully embrace it. But the technology is not there. And most likely Itheum might be the platform or the technology platform that helps drive some of this new innovation.
Great. So moving on, you meant, like, what do you mean by the types of direct sale?
So I suppose you're inferring about our white paper. In our white paper, we talk about this concept of the types of direct sale or direct trade is probably a better way to word that. So if it's basically talking about the different ways you can put data up for trade, right? So we have a concept of a data pack. A data pack is just a JSON file. So you can join the data decks and upload a data pack and advertise it for trade. And anybody around the world can have a look at a preview of it, the terms of use of it, and then peer-to-peer procure access to your data pack. The second way that we're most excited about is data NFTs, and I'll explain why. So let's say you don't want to trade via a data pack, because a data pack you could potentially sell unlimited amount of times. Maybe you want to limit the distribution of your data. A good example is something like your DNA data, which you don't want it just propagated all over the world. So then you trade as a data NFT. So you have your data wrapped as an NFT, and it has all the characteristics of an NFT. Limited distribution, you can attach royalties to it, you can enforce scarcity to it, all of these cool things. And finally, we have the data coalition. So we envision a world where people don't really want to sit in the Itheum data decks every day trying to trade their data, because it's not going to happen. So I think what we envision is automated, autonomous trading. So your job is to generate high quality data. Then you just align to a data coalition and let them take care of the trading, because they are the subject matter experts, and you'll be taken care of from a regulation perspective, from terms of use perspective. They would look after your best interests. So these are the sort of ways that you can trade data in Itheum. Now, these are all still under what we call our core data protocol. What we're building on top of that is the most exciting part, which is our metaverse and our web sort of consumer products, right? Where we have our NFMe or non-fungible me metaverse IDs that are backed by real data. So all the things we have spoken about is the core data protocol, and we're building the really cool metaverse-friendly, gaming-friendly stuff on top of that.
So when you speak about the NFT, is it only aligned with the data coalition, or is it, that arises a question where does trading my data peer-to-peer allow a buyer to again sell my data to the buyers across the world? Because the NFT is limited again. Does it apply to the peer-to-peer trade as well?
Yeah, so taking a question about the NFTs first. So if you mint your data as a data NFT, then now automatically it's available in secondary markets, OpenSea or even Decentraland. You can travel through Decentraland, look at NFT galleries and buy like data galleries. This is a really interesting concept. So that is the NFT part. If it's a data pack that's pure peer-to-peer, and let's imagine in the scenario as an example, I procure one of your data packs, and now I'm going to resell it, right? Of course, it's possible. Now, this is a problem that most marketplaces have in Web3. But what we are thinking about here is the person who's buying the data pack from me knows that I'm the one selling it. So they won't even be interested in buying from me, because they know that you are the original creator of that data set. And this is all verifiable, and this is where blockchain comes in. Proof of provenance or proof of origin, as you are the creator, is verifiable on chain. So the person procuring it would be able to know that I'm an imposter in the middle trying to resell. And this is the wonder of blockchain and data, right? It just works hand in hand.
Perfect. I think this was one of the questions that the community would be asking us a lot, because if our data gets resold every time, it is a safety threat or whatever it is, then it is how can Itheum be helping us? And this answer has, I think, solved this issue to a larger extent, because now they can see who the original data creator is, right? Great, Mark. Is there anything else that you'd like to add from your end?
No, I think that was this was a good topic and a very timely topic, but it's an ever-evolving topic. How we enable seamless data trade. It works in a certain way now. We've documented that in our white paper. We have our proof of concept to test it, so you can try it out for yourself. But it's an ever-evolving topic. We will keep the community updated, right? So we have our town halls. We have updates to our white paper happening quite regularly, so we will keep you continuously updated and take feedback as we build this data trade ecosystem, or the core protocol, rather.
Awesome, Mark. It was lovely speaking to you and having you on the show again. We hope to hear from you again in the next episode.
Thank you so much, Anita. And looking forward to more chats and clearing out some of the really advanced concepts behind Itheum. It's very good that we do more of these.
Great. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you.